Hi everyone, and welcome to this new brand tutorial. Today we will see how to do a basic PBR metal in a Unreal Engine 5. Let's dive in. Go inside the browser of your project. Create a material. It's very simple to do this. You have to push the right click of your mouse button, then select Content menu, then select Material. Rename the name of the material using this name m_basic metal. This is the standard naming convention for materials used inside the Unreal Engine. Do a double click on material to go inside the Unreal Material Editor. Let's analyze how this material will work. Basic metal is a solid material, and in Unreal they are applied to geometry mesh. So we will use as material domain surface and opaque as blend mode. This kind of material interacts with lighting, so we will use lit as shading model. In this case we could use the default settings provided by Unreal Engine material. We make the color of the metal using a Costant 3 vector as input of base color. We can try this light gray tint as starting point for our metal. The PBR workflow used by Unreal Engine is metallic roughness. In few words, it means that we can have metallic materials and not metallic materials. In PBR workflow, to have a correct physical representation of a metallic material, metallic value has to be equal or greater than 0.5. Instead, a non-metallic material or dielectric material has a maximum value of metallic around 0.04. Now we have to set the metalness of the material. Let's create a constant float node to define the metallic value. I suggest you to convert it in parameter to make the metallic value tweakable in the material instance. We will use as default metallic value 0.75. Connect metallic value to metallic input in the materials master node. Now our metal is coming to life. At this stage we have another issue. We have to manage the roughness to define how the surface looks like. Using the default setup of Unreal Engine Material Editor, we have a roughness value of 0.5. And when the light interacts with the metal surface, create this blurry effect, it's not so reflective. Create another parameter to control the roughness. Use 0.2 as default value. Connect this value as input of roughness. Let's convert the Costant 3 vector used to define the base color and rename it as metal tint. Well, now you have a very basic metal material. Let's test your material. Create a material instance and rename it MI Iron Metal. Add a sphere to the level, grabbing it from the Place Actors Shapes menu. Add the material to the sphere. We can directly drag and drop the material on the mesh. Let's take a closer look to our metal. It works very nice and interacts very well with the scene's lighting. Observing the metal, we have noticed that the roughness is too much uniform. In the real environment, the metal surface isn't so perfect. To solve this issue, we have to create a system to make a custom roughness, driven by a mask. Let's detach our roughness node. We will use the Lerp node. What is Lerp or linear interpolation? In few words, Lerp manages to drive the distribution between two values yield a third value, the alpha. The alpha value can be also 2D black and white texture. Let's set up our Lerp. Set a constant to 0 and connect it as first input. Set a constant to 1 and connect it as the second input. The first input represents the not roughness area. Instead, the second one represents the roughness area. Now, to define our alpha mask, create the texture sample node. You have to connect the R channel from texture sample to Lerp's alpha input. Select texture sample and in the details menu search texture parameter. Click on drop-down menu to assign a texture. I suggest you to use a noise texture like the cloud noise. Now multiply the Lerp function by our roughness value. This operation gives us more control. We have the main multiplier which drives the intensity of the roughness mask. Now, to organize in a better way our material and to avoid the old spaghetti links nightmare, Unreal Engine 5 has created the name reroute declaration node. Create the node and rename it Roughness. This node works as a link. If you call back this node, you can access to the result of that part of the graph. Now call back Roughness node and connect it to the master material node's roughness input. Let's try some tweaks to see if it works. It works very well. To avoid strange PBR artifacts, limit the maximum value of roughness to 1. To do this, you have to select the roughness parameter node and inside the details menu set slider max to 1. Let's do the same for the metallic parameter node. Select all roughness node and press in C to add a comment to describe this section. Roughness management. And another step to make more powerful our material is creating a static switch parameter to use the uniform value or the Lerp mask to drive the roughness. Add the static switch parameter node and connect as true input the Lerp section multiplied by roughness parameter. Rename the node, use roughness texture, and connect the output as input of the reroute declaration node. Connect as false input only the roughness parameter. Finally, convert the texture sample node in a parameter to make it editable from material instance. Rename it as roughness texture mask. Now, let's check if our material instance works in the right way. Well, the parameters are organized by Unreal Engine default groups. I prefer to organize my parameters in a custom way. Let's back in the material editor. Select the node and inside the details menu look for the group parameter. Default value is none. For metal tint, for metallic and for roughness, use main as group name. For the roughness texture mask, use texture, and for the static parameter switch, use switch. Save the material. Now, our groups are using the material instance to organize the parameters. If you want to go deeper or if you want to try different metal setup, I leave in the description the link to access to Epic Games official documentation to set the correct tint values of the metals. We have many setups: iron, gold, silver and much more. If you like this kind of tutorial, leave a like or comments below. Subscribe to the channel to support my work. I hope you have enjoyed this video and see you next time.